80-somethings at the Hermitage where I work. And I had just finished telling a story, and one of the residents, Irene, spoke up and she said, "You know, that just reminds me of," but then she stopped herself. Now, Irene was a natural-born storyteller. When I'd first met her, she was in a group, and I had asked them about their childhoods, and she said, "Oh, honey, we was dirt poor. Why, you know that we lived up there in the mountains, and Granddaddy never could get a good crop going in that rocky ground. So he had to supplement his income. He had a steal. People used to come over on Saturday night, you know, and they'd bring their jugs and their jars, and well, then they'd roll up the carpet, and Granddaddy'd get his fiddle out, and somebody else had a banjo, and, well, we'd have us a dance right there in the living room. And, you know, my Granddaddy could dance an Irish jig with a bucket of water balanced on his head and never spill a single drop." Then she leaned over and she said, "You know, we were Methodists, we just weren't very good ones." So I loved Irene, and I was ready to hear a story, but she stopped herself and she said, "You know, my mama always did tell me that I talked too much." And suddenly, as I looked at her downcast face, I was back in 7th grade. Mr. Hunter was tall. He had a head full of reddish-brown curls that seemed to be about to leap off his head in enthusiasm. He was always impeccably dressed in a dark suit, a skinny dark tie, a white spotless shirt, shined shoes. And he would stand in front of our 7th grade chorus class and put all 4 fingers in his mouth to demonstrate how one needed to open wide to sing properly. "Ah!" And the boys would guffaw and the girls would giggle, but Mr. Hunter didn't care. He acted like teaching 7th graders how to sing was the best job in the world. Well, one day at the end of class, he said to me, "Oh, Denise, would you come back during study hall? I'd like to talk with you." The boys in the back of the class said, "Uh-oh, you're in trouble." And I thought, oh, maybe I am in trouble. Maybe I've been singing the wrong notes. Maybe I've been singing too loud. It would not be the first time I had displeased a music teacher. See, in 4th grade, when we had first moved to West Lafayette, Indiana, I had gotten so excited because they had orchestra in the schools. That summer in August, my dad and I had gone across the river into Lafayette to the big music store there. My dad opened the door and it smelled like cedar and pine. And the man had gone and he'd gotten a little violin for me, 3/4 size. You know, I'm sure that it was not much better than a cigar box with strings, but to me, it was a Stradivarius. And that whole month before school started, I would take it out very carefully and practice holding it the way the man had showed me and practiced dragging the bow across the strings. And then school started and lessons. Mr. Snotley, okay, that's not his real name, but that was what we all called him because, you know, Mr. Snotley was a man who looked like he was always sucking on a lemon. He looked like a person who, well, just wasn't happy about teaching strings to elementary school and junior high school kids. I would practice and practice at home. But I would get to the lesson. It was a group lesson, and I would invariably mess up. There was another girl in the class, Susan. She always played it perfectly. I don't know if she was a child prodigy or what. But he'd say, no, 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 not like that, Denise. Now listen to Susan play it. And Susan would play it beautifully. She even had vibrato in 4th grade. It was really sickening. And at the end of the year, I said to my parents, I want to quit. They said, no, no, no. How can you tell after only 1 year if you really want to play the violin? So I played all through 5th grade, and at the end of 5th grade, I said, I want to quit. My parents said, no, no, no. How can you tell after only 2 years if you want to play an instrument? And that summer, I went to orchestra camp at the junior high, which was just as bad as lessons during the year, except a lot sweatier. But then, at the end of 6th grade, my deliverance had come because I could not both take chorus and orchestra. And I knew I loved to sing, so I got to quit the violin. But now Mr. Hunter wanted to see me at study hall. I walked in the room, and he was sitting at the piano. He got up, oh, Denise, Denise, come in. Now, I know I have you singing alto because you can read music. Okay, I did learn that from Mr. Snotley. But I'd like to see if, well, I'd just like to see what your range is. And so he began to play scales, and he had me sing, and he got to a certain place, and he said, now, can you go higher? Oh, yes. And so I went higher, and he played a little more. Can you go higher? Oh, yes. Finally, he stopped and he said, you have a very good range, Denise. I do? Oh, yes. Yes. Now, you're a little young, but I think when you get a little older, you should take voice lessons. You could sing anything you want. Oh. Now, I know that you are almost a teenager. He was being kind. I was only 12. But I was thinking that as we prepare for our Christmas concert, I'd like to have a variety of music, you know, some serious songs and some lighter ones. I was thinking that it would be a lot of fun if you would sing I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus for the Christmas concert. Well, friends, he could have asked me to sing the ABC song sitting in a baby carriage, and I would have done it. I was back in the circle of the 80-year-old ladies, still looking at Irene's downcast face. And I said, Irene, I don't mean any disrespect to your mama, but Irene, I don't think you talk too much. I think you are a storyteller, and we would love to hear what you have to say. And Irene's face just spread wide in a grin, and all the ladies in the circle were smiling. And in my heart, Mr. Hunter was smiling too. Thank you. To have gotten something good in there.
Oh, yeah.
I really appreciate you all coming, and so, you know, I'll let you know when we get it up on YouTube, but most of all, I just love telling stories, It's so much more fun to tell them to people than, you know, by myself in the car. So anyway, my wish